Welcome back to the 10-second runoff powered by Culture Media with your host, Joe Mitchell, producer Magic Mikey Shiaza, and our guy, Brogan Bourgeois. We got some things to talk about tonight. First off, is Jim Harbaugh delusional or he just backing his guy?
Both.
Both. Okay. We'll get right into that in a second. We are brought to you by Culture Media, but sponsored by 7-3 Distilling. My favorite is the Bywater Bourbon. Got it right now. Drinking it neat, actually. It's just so good. I just love it. I really do. It's so good. But if you're not a bourbon person, they also have a Gentilly gin. They have a regular gin, a barrel-aged gin, Black Pearl rum. They have a St. Rock vodka. It's all really, really good stuff. Go check it out. You can go to Total Wine, Rouse's, or just go to their website, 7-3 Distilling out of New Orleans. All right, so Jim Harbaugh, the other day, he said, don't be surprised if JJ McCarthy's the first quarterback taken in the NFL draft. First of all, no. But I want to also contextualize that with after the national championship game, on the podium, he said JJ McCarthy may be the best quarterback in the history of Michigan football, maybe ever. It's just bad.
There's being wrong and then being so blatantly wrong that it's annoying. And he was right up that alley with that statement after the national championship.
Yeah, dude, it's terrible. And then to double down and say not to be surprised if he's the first quarterback taken off the board. He might be the sixth quarterback taken off the board. And again, this is not a shot at JJ McCarthy. It's more so just like I feel like Jim Harbaugh is setting this dude up for failure, and it's really sucky to watch. But looking at who's available in the NFL draft this year, you have Caleb Williams, you have Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, all going higher than JJ McCarthy, in my opinion. After that, you can go maybe four. I guess he can go four. I guess it's a toss-up between Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., and JJ McCarthy. But, again, if I had to put money on it, he's going after them. He's going to be the sixth quarterback taken. So that's a crazy statement. Also, hey, Tom Brady went to Michigan.
Yeah, the greatest football player of all time.
But I don't understand. And here's the biggest thing. Here's my biggest issue with that. Jim Harbaugh is now the head coach at the Chargers. They have the fifth pick in the draft. If he believes those two statements, he has a chance to go prove it. Trade Justin Herbert. You'll get all the value in the world. You can potentially draft the best quarterback to ever play football at 5 and get all the value in the world for Justin Herbert. It sounds like a no-brainer to me. But he's not going to do it. He's not going to do that because he doesn't believe what he's saying. And all he's going to do is bring JJ McCarthy undue criticism because he's fine. Like, he's a good quarterback. He doesn't put up flashy numbers or anything like that, but he takes care of the football. He's very efficient. He had a great quarterback rating. And he could be a late first-round pick or somewhere in the second, third round. And I think that's about where he is. He's solid. He could play, he could find himself starting for a NFL organization here in the next couple of years. But we're setting these expectations for this guy to go be the best quarterback ever, and it's just not the case.
Yeah, no, and he had a great QBR, like you said, and he put up decent stats. And it's like nothing against him. He could have put up more if he wanted to, but he didn't have to because their run game was so amazing all year long. So to call him the greatest quarterback of Michigan and best guy on the board when he only threw for over 200 yards once out of his last 6 games, and it was against Bama, that has a lot to say of itself. But, Penn State, he put up 60. Now, that's the one where they just ran it. But if you're looking at stats, this is a very decently good quarterback, but not the greatest to ever put on a Michigan Wolverine uniform and not the best quarterback entering this draft either.
Yeah, and
that's nothing against him. I saw an interview this week that was from earlier in the season. Dude went through a lot. He's like a great guy. Nothing against him, but or his skills. But to set these bars for him going into the draft and your coach going to the NFL as well, that's just not fair. And it's kind of unfortunate for him because, like you said, nobody's kind of expecting him to even start this year. So if he gets to start for whatever team drafts him, he's going to be under more scrutiny that whole week in practice and leading up to that game than anybody else in the league.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And that's what Jim Harbaugh is setting him up for. And it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Like I said, he's got an opportunity to go prove it. You think he's the best quarterback in the draft? Go prove it. When he's there at 5, go take him. trade Justin Herbert, get all the value in the world, but he's not going to do it, nor would any intelligent human, because that's not a smart move, and he doesn't believe it's true. And now there's going to be a microscope under JJ McCarthy, and everyone's going to hold something that he didn't say above his head and judge him based off that. It's like saying, dude, he could go out and have the best career ever. And, Jim Harbaugh could say he's going to be the Michael Jordan of football, and people are going to look back and say, yeah, but LeBron. And so you're just putting these expectations on this guy who's not even in that conversation, and it's unfair to him. And that's what really bothers me. That's what really bothers me about this.
Same, 100% agree.
Mikey, what are your thoughts?
I think that, one, he is delusional, but I think the more I think about it, this could just be a play to maybe boost JJ McCarthy's draft stock. Him going out and saying all this stuff, being like, oh, he's the best quarterback, but then if you pass on him at 5, then it's like, oh, like you said, he truly doesn't believe what he's saying, and he's just saying it for attention and to get all this hype on JJ McCarthy. So, it just doesn't seem like a smart move on his part. If you want to hype up your guy and say, oh, yeah, great player, one of the best players I've ever coached, that's the smart way to go about it. Say he's a coachable guy. Say, all the good buzzwords that coaches want to hear and an NFL organization wants to hear. Don't go out saying, oh, he's the best to ever do it. He's going to be the best quarterback of all time. Because, one, we all know he's not. And, two, like you said, it's just putting a microscope on him. And I can already see all the memes happening. The one time J.J. McCarthy steps on the field and throws an interception in his first game, and then it's all downhill from there. Yeah. I hope that doesn't happen. For J.J. McCarthy, I hope he's a good quarterback wherever he goes. But it just seems inevitable at this point that, one, he's going to mess up at some point. All rookie quarterbacks do. And then all the pressure, all the media is going to be on him, and it's just not going to end well. So I don't know what Harbaugh's play is here. And if he does take him at 5 and trades Justin Herbert, that's wild. Hey, and then if he's putting his money where his mouth is, then I respect it.
Yeah, I'll wipe my hands clean of that situation and say, all right, let's see what happens.
But that's not going to happen.
But there's in no world does that happen. In zero world. I'm looking at a mock draft right now. Let's see where they have JJ McCarthy going.
But if they do want to do that, then as a Saints fan, we will give you anybody you want. I'm going to throw that into the universe. I would love Justin Herbert. You can take MT, Derek Carr, and whoever else your heart desires.
Yeah.
Just going to try and manifest that. Give me Justin Herbert.
But even still, I think JJ McCarthy would be a project guy. If he's going to be a good NFL quarterback, he can't start week 1. That's just how most rookie quarterbacks can't. So it just doesn't make sense. So where do they have him going?
Not in the first round.
Yeah. If you had to scroll that far to find it, that speaks for itself.
Yeah. And again, this is not a shot at JJ McCarthy by any stretch of the imagination. It's a shot at Jim Harbaugh for putting this guy in this scenario. It's just not fair to him. Nobody expects that of him. Nobody thinks that of him. If you ask anybody who's going to be the first quarterback off the board, they're going to tell you probably the guy who's the best quarterback prospect that we've ever seen. Now, whether he pans out to be that, I can't tell you that. I don't know. He may have locker room issues, all that kind of stuff. But Caleb Williams is, by any scout's opinion, the best prospect at quarterback that we've seen. Okay, so you move past Caleb Williams. There's an argument. Maybe Drake May goes at 2. Maybe Jaden Daniels goes at 2. But either way, they're going 1, 2, 3. Then it comes down to Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix. Where are they going? I haven't seen a mock draft that has JJ McCarthy in the first round, let alone being the first quarterback taken. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's an unfair statement for him to make, and it really, really infuriates me. Because if you're a head coach, your number one priority is your players, right? I know he's no longer the head coach at Michigan. He's the head coach at Los Angeles Chargers now. But what is this doing? This is not benefiting your player by any means. So,
yeah.
All right, moving on. I guess we'll stay in the Big Ten here. The SEC and the Big Ten put together an advisory board, to kind of best position themselves for the future regarding the playoff and what that could look like. Not necessarily an alliance, not necessarily like the SEC and the Big Ten versus the NCAA until, was it today or yesterday, Mikey? Today. So Tony Petitti, the commissioner of the Big Ten, said in regard to the playoff expansion, figure it out, or we'll find something else to do. But, I mean, that's fighting words. That's pretty threatening, saying we'll figure this thing out. I guess the question now is, what would that look like if the SEC and the Big Ten were to start their own commission, I guess?
Mayhem. Like any order that they hope that they would keep expanding right now would just be completely out the window. It's hard to speculate because it's all hearsay, and it's kind of like, well, we're going to do this if this doesn't pan. I don't know. It's gotten so monetarily based and network based that it's hard to like pick a side and like agree with someone completely. So I think they're kind of just flexing their chest, both the SEC and the Big Ten. I don't think anything will come to fruition, at least this year. But I'd love to get your take.
Yeah, I think that the underlying message there is the SEC and the Big Ten. The Big Ten now moved to an 18-league conference or 18-team conference. The SEC now has 16 teams. Tony Petitti's throwing around the idea of a 16-team playoff. Don't love that, but I understand it in terms of having 18 teams in your conference and wanting the most bids possible for your teams. But to me, what that's saying is not we're going to go start something else, is we're just going to monopolize college football more than they already have. We'll poach everybody from every conference, and now we have college football. So to me, that's what it seems like. You do have TV contracts coming up, and then you have a couple big TV contracts coming up. I know you only have 2 years of the playoff. After that, I think it goes 2 more years of the TV contract, and then you have a renewal. So there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of unknown in college football. I was not a big fan of the 12-team format, but I am a fan of the stability of college football at least. Now, as unstable as it's been in the last several years, you get it every year. And you get 100,000 people in a stadium in cities across America, and, they cheer for people throwing a ball and running into a painted area, and I love it. But whenever you have conversations like this, I don't know where that goes, and that's a little it's not scary because I know we will have football, but it leaves me to wonder what that could look like.
Yeah.
And on top of all of this, something that's not being talked about, right? If these two conferences leave the NCAA, we're just getting NCAA football back, the video game. What's going to happen there?
If you think
we finally got it back, maybe, hopefully. It's coming back within the next year or so, and if we don't have NCAA as a organization, well, I mean, we came all this way for nothing. We came all this way for nothing.
If you think EA Sports isn't jumping on top of the EA Sports is on the phone with Tony Petitti right now, gotta be.
But then are we gonna have 2 games? Are we gonna have the SEC game and the Big Ten game? Like, what's gonna happen? What's going on here?
That would suck. Don't want to see that.
That'd be horrible. You have to buy a third console. You just got to get a console for each one because they'll monopolize the consoles too. Don't act like they're going to be in this for all the kids that want to play.
It's like the show, the Major League Baseball game. The show, it's PS5 only.
Yeah.
Or did they just turned it 3 years ago? Nah, whatever. But you get the point.
But also, with staying on the NCAA game, they're making some cool strides with it, like of last week about having like the songs kind of chants of like the home field aspect of it. I think that's going to be, if that's actually true, that would be so cool. Like fourth quarter, you lose a game-winning field goal in your franchise, and then you're playing against LSU in Baton Rouge, and they start singing "Neck." Like that would never happen, but that would be the most electric gaming experience of all time. But they have been talking about like getting the Penn State Stadium rocking and West Virginia and all that. So I hope that's actually true because that would make the game even better.
That would be cool. Gameplay matters the most.
Game has to come up.
Gameplay matters the most to me though. They can make it look as cool as they want, but God, if they just make another Madden, I'll lose it. I've
stopped playing Madden like 3 years ago.
Yeah, dude, Madden sucks.
So
Ben Wimmer says he puts Bywater bourbon in his Hydro Flask and drinks it at work. Ben, I commend you. I don't recommend drinking on the job, but I love the commitment. Yeah, that's true. I am drinking on the job, so cheers to that. All right. Yeah, I'm not even gonna. We're moving past that comment. All right, Brogan. I know you're big on Alabama, so there's some allegations being thrown around. I'm not taking them too seriously, judging by the source, but there is allegations that Kalen DeBoer and Alabama were, what's the word I'm looking for here? They were tampering with Noah Fifita out of Arizona. What are your thoughts?
I mean, that's like of course, the account that came from, we revere it. So screw them for even putting that out there in the universe. But I don't like it because I don't want Jalen reading that because Noah Fifita went off. So like if he transferred in anywhere, he's the starter.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pivot from Milroe. Like Milroe is going to be top 3 Heisman content whenever the odds are released. So if that is true, I don't think that's cool of Kalen DeBoer. And I kind of just think that might have been like a safety valve for him coming in if Jalen was going to leave. But ever since Saban announced his retirement, Jalen's just been full force forward. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be a leader. So I hope it's not true. It doesn't look great if it is. But there's so much like tampering stuff going on, like the Proctor stuff with Iowa. That one actually had some probably truth to it because he was struggling in the back half of our SEC schedule. But yeah, I think the source they said was his dad.
Was Noah Fifita's dad, yeah.
Yeah, but so until he comes out and says something or Noah does, like, it is what it is. It's Twitter fingers. Like, you can say whatever you want.
So they did, right? So they said Noah Fifita's dad said that as soon as Kalen DeBoer, or after Nick Saban retired, he got calls from Noah Fifita got calls from at least three big programs, Alabama being one of them, which, if true, is illegal. He's not in the portal, can't call him, can't do all that stuff. Now, that being said, I don't know how true it is. Just allegations. Don't necessarily trust the Twitter account that said it, and their source was Bro Bible. So I'm out on that. Till somebody credible reports that, then we'll take it more seriously and we'll have a deeper conversation about it and what that could mean. And if Kalen DeBoer is starting out on a bad foot, again, I think he's a great coach. I think he's going to do really well at Alabama, but that's a conversation we can have if that comes out to be true. If not, we can just make fun. We can laugh and point at the Twitter account that posted it.
Yep.
While we're here, we mentioned Nick Saban's retirement. There was a prominent name who said that the college football playoff the playoff committee knew about Nick Saban retiring, and that's why Bama got in. I'll let you take the reins here.
Yeah, James Cook, you're wrong. It's like they beat Georgia. James Cook, of course, played at Georgia. They beat Georgia. Everybody knew that if there was going to be somebody to get in from the SEC, it was going to be the winner of that game. That's the end of the conversation. Saying that they put him in because Nick Saban and not because Georgia cannot physically beat Bama in Atlanta is absurd. So he can I think he did it for clicks and to maybe get his name more relevant again, but that was dumb. Like, I hate that take. Everybody in the world was like, all right, guy, like, the Georgia had all the right to be in there. Like, I think they were one of the 4 best teams. I think they were the 2nd best team in the country after that game. So that's just a playoff. Saying that Nick Saban was retiring and that's why we got in is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think Georgia probably was the best team in the country this last year, and that's not taking anything from Michigan. They got the trophy, they won the college football playoff, all that, great. I think Georgia was probably the best team in the country last year. So yeah, I do think they probably deserve to find their way in, but then you just have more unhappy fan bases. So whatever. That being said, let's talk about the quote tweet for James Cook. Go ahead.
Yeah, God, I want to find it now. But that was funny. His take got quote tweeted by someone with his, I forgot even like what you call it. Oh my God, I gotta find it. Mike, you gotta help me out.
It was like his admission, like an admission paper, right?
Yeah, it was like a God, 2 years out of college, I can't even talk about it. But it's like the whenever you're with a group of people and they force you to to answer 3 or more people to get class credit, and talking about hog hunting, and there was just so many errors in the man's submission that in itself alone defeated any purpose that he had with that tweet, which is hilarious that that's how the internet works. But his take was shot down by what he submitted at 18, 19 years old into a discussion board. That's the word. But Mikey, did you find it? If we can read that, that'd be great.
He's looking for it right now. But yeah, man, I saw that quote tweet and I was trying to figure out what it was. I guess I just didn't read far enough to realize that's what it was from James Cook. But I literally thought somebody was just messing around on Wikipedia, and it was so grammatically bad, just wrong, that I stopped reading it. Didn't even get far enough to realize that's what it was. So it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Mikey, nothing on that. It's all good. We don't have to worry about it. All right. Talked about a couple things there. Let's get into team of the week that we're going to look into their schedule next year. So Oklahoma has the 7th hardest strength of schedule next year. Let's work through it here. They open the season August 31st, get Temple at home. Okay, that's nothing. They get Houston again at home in week 2. Again, I think that's a win. They just play an old Big 12 team.
Yeah.
Tulane in week 3 at home. And then they go to Tennessee. Or they don't go to Tennessee. They get Tennessee at home. So they open the season with 4 home games, which is honestly really nice for them. But it means
that's huge.
But it means the back half of their schedule is, for the majority, going to be away. Judging by the 3 cupcakes, or not 2 cupcakes, Tulane's middle of the pack, but we expect Oklahoma to beat them. I would have rathered have some different games at home. But Tennessee at home, September 21st. That's going to be their first real big test, in my opinion. They get the following week they go to Auburn. What are your thoughts with Auburn right now, this Oklahoma-Auburn game? Because I think Auburn's a little bit slept on. They're kind of being overshadowed by some other SEC teams, but what Hugh Freeze is doing over there is really, really impressive.
Yeah, we talked about it before that the recruiting class is insane this year. So there's a lot of promise going at Auburn. But I think we can't leave Oklahoma short just because they're following Texas as well, and everybody's like, Texas is going to be the powerhouse. We can't overlook what Oklahoma's bringing to the table. And with that being said, I think they'll grab that one and be 4-1 going into that Texas game.
With a loss to Tennessee?
Yeah, I'm giving Tennessee the nod there.
Okay. I don't know. I think I'm more likely to give Oklahoma.
Are we flipped?
Yeah, I think I'm more likely to give Oklahoma the win over Tennessee. Now, granted, these projections are going to change. The rosters aren't even set for next year, but just way too early. They get a bye week, and then they get Texas and Dallas. I think this is going to be a really very interesting tell. Look, Texas was in the playoff last year. They had 1 loss. That loss was Oklahoma. I know Oklahoma lost a couple games they shouldn't have down the stretch, but they beat Texas this year. People just forget that part. Obviously, if you're a Texas or Oklahoma fan, you didn't forget that. But the rest of the rest of the country is at large just forgets that, and they feel like Oklahoma isn't living up to what Texas is. They beat Texas last year.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's all hyped up about Texas coming into the SEC, all that kind of stuff. Oklahoma, to me, is being way overshadowed.
Yeah, and Oklahoma could be 0-5, 1-4 going into that game. They won't be, but they could be, and I think that'll be a 1-score game. Just because it's a rivalry game means more local middle field talent, like going
neutral,
to Dallas,
neutral field,
Jerry World, neutral field. Yeah, that's slipped my mind. Yeah, so like they could both be 1-4. They won't, but that game will be a shootout, and it'll just mean more. It's been those 2 schools almost Super Bowl for a long time. So
yeah, and I've been very impressed with Brent Venables too. He got there in year 1.
Mm-hmm.
He got there in year 1. They went 6-7, but he was completely rebuilding that roster. Not that they had everybody leave or anything like that, but he was restructuring the roster is a better word, because Oklahoma was just bad on defense when Lincoln Riley left. Alex Grinch was there. They didn't have a good defense at all, and then he had to restructure that. Last year they won 10 games or 9 games in the regular season. So I'm very impressed with Oklahoma. I think they're a couple years out from being like real legit contenders. And I don't mean real legit contenders like when Lincoln Riley was there where they could get to the playoff and then get 60 hung on them. But I mean teams that can play defense and keep up on offense. And look, we don't know what Jackson Arnold's going to be yet, but if he's that guy, if he's an SEC starting quarterback, Oklahoma's got the potential to be really good. So I think that Texas game, people are looking at it now and they're chalking it as a W for Texas, but I think it could go either way.
Yeah, I completely agree.
The following week, they get South Carolina at home. That'll be interesting. Shane Beamer does a really good job as a head coach. But we've seen some highs and we've seen some lows over there. They obviously lose Spencer Rattler. They lose a tight end. They lose some guys over at South Carolina. So interesting to see, or I'm interested to see what he does to rebuild that roster and if they can be as competitive as they have been in the last couple of years. But I like Oklahoma in that one.
Agreed.
The following week, they go to Ole Miss. I don't think that's an easy win. So that's obviously a tough one. They get Maine the next week, and then they get Missouri. Again, Missouri gets Brady Cook back. That was one of the best offenses in the country this year at Missouri. So, so far, we're through 10 games on the schedule. If you had to throw a number out there, what are we at? A record prediction. Through 10.
7-3.
Damn. So that would be crazy because I really do think Oklahoma's going to be a good team. So if they're 7-3 through 10 weeks, they're probably unranked or they're somewhere from 20 to 25 or unranked at that point.
Yeah.
And with all the potential to ruin somebody's season.
That's perfect for them.
Why is that perfect
Play
for
with
them?
nothing to lose. To ruin somebody else's schedule. Like, that's horrible for them, but they can ruin, like, looking at the last three of their season. If they're 7-3 going in those last three games, and I have them going
Or last
three.
Last two.
Did you count Missouri?
Yeah. We talked about Missouri.
Okay, so 1, 2.
So 7-3 going into.
I have them going worse. I have them going worse than 6-4. I have them losing to Missouri, Ole Miss, Texas, and Tennessee. So maybe 6-3 and then that being like, okay, now we can ruin some people's schedule. I'm really low, I guess, now looking at the schedule and saying who I think is going to win on what's going to happen. And I just think, I think 6-3 is. Ole Miss is going to win that game. Texas, I think it'll be a nail biter. I'm giving it to Texas. Tennessee is my toss up, and I'm giving them a loss to Missouri. Missouri at Missouri is a hard team to play against. Yeah. And they're keeping Cook, like you said. So I have 3 definites with Missouri, Ole Miss, and Texas. And if Tennessee can pull it off, I have them at 6-4. Where's our disconnect? Which ones do you have them as a definite win?
Yeah, I have them at 8-2 right there. And I don't think there's any definite losses. I think they split those 4.
Okay.
Dude, 6-4. Well, let's see what you think about these last 2. They get Alabama at home. No, there's try to be as unbiased as possible. Yeah, I'm with you.
Just still.
No, I'm with you. I'm gonna go Alabama there as well. And then LSU on the road. I think
LSU.
I think LSU on the road's tough because it's a really hard place to play, especially being the last game of the year. But I don't know, dude. LSU's defense, they went and they hired a lot of great coaches, and I think the culture defensively at LSU is changing and is going to get better. But roster is still kind of slim defensively. They didn't add a ton They have two scholarship players on the defensive line. They didn't add a ton to that secondary. So I don't know. I think that LSU game is kind of a toss-up. So you have them at 6-6. I got them somewhere between 8-4, 9-3.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I mean, I just can't see them winning some of these games. And that's nothing against Oklahoma as a team. It's just welcome to the SEC and playing some of these games away. Like, I'd probably give it to them if Missouri was at Oklahoma, but Missouri's going to get up for that game. LSU, last game of the season. Baton Rouge is going to be rocking. The one that I think they could kind of steal would be Bama because it's at home. But I just have them at 6-6, which is absurd because I'm sure their win total preseason is going to be 7.5, 8.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if that's out yet.
The only two that I saw last week when we did it were Bama and Colorado. So
Bama and Colorado, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's all I see is Bama and Colorado. Dude, yeah, I don't know. I think I'd probably put their preseason win total at 6.5, 7.5, somewhere in there.
Yeah, if it's 7.5, I'll be taking the under because that means I'm getting a game as well. So I think it'll be like they will be a good team and they will fall into a mediocre bowl and probably destroy whoever went like 9-3 in the ACC.
If they lose 6 games and it is to Tennessee, Auburn, Texas, Ole Miss. Whoa, hold on. Tennessee, Auburn. You gave them the win over Auburn. So Tennessee, Texas, Ole Miss, Missouri, Alabama, LSU. They're gonna beat the crap out of somebody in the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's like they'll get the 3 or 4 seed ACC Big 12 team and win by 28. Just because their strength of schedule is ridiculous. That's why we're talking about them. And they'll be a good. It's the deck that they got dealt coming into the SEC.
But that's part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So you think? So let me ask you this: If you think Oklahoma is going to be a 6-6 team that's potentially better than a lot of 8-4, 9-3 teams, why 6 definite losses? Because I don't think they're that much worse than the 6 teams that you think are locks over them.
Yeah, I don't. This is all feel. Like, we don't know the rosters. This is all going off like the last 2 to 3 years of my recollection. With the portal and everybody leaving and coming in, they could steal. But like I definitely have them losing like 4. And the last 2, like you kind of talked me into LSU being closer than I thought it was, and Bama honestly being closer than I thought it was. But I think these at Ole Miss, they don't stand a chance. In Columbia, don't stand a chance. Dallas, it'll be close because of the game. And then I think Tennessee will just be if they can get out the fire that they're in right now with NCAA, they'll have that Michigan mantra of everybody against us, and they could be a scary team in the SEC next year. So
that's true. Tennessee.
I have 4 losses going to. Yeah.
That's true, and you're not going to like this, but Tennessee's kind of America's team next year. I know you're not going to like that, but
that's just how it is. I mean, it's whoever's like the NCAA hates us. Everybody's like, let's go.
Yeah, wait, Mikey, jump in here. You got opinions back there.
How is Tennessee America's team next year?
They're leading the charge on the NCAA.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, Mikey's in.
No, I'm not. I'm not. Not particularly, but.
All right, well, let's talk about it.
I mean, I don't know. They were just the first ones to have it happen to them, and then they were just the first ones to fight back. I'm not going to say they're America's team because of that, but I mean, I guess you bring up a valid point.
Yeah.
So you're rooting for Tennessee next year?
Well, I mean, I'm not rooting for Tennessee, but if
America is, then are you American?
The most.
The most.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You are.
I think they'd be more of America's team if they didn't have that like orange that make your stomach hurt, make you want to throw up. But outside of that, like everybody's gonna love them because they're fighting the power. Everybody loves somebody that's fighting the power, and that'll be them. Michigan was it last year, and now it'll be them. Especially if they get hit with any violations or anything coming out of this. Yeah. Then it'll be like, all right, we're going to take Tennessee every week.
Well, also, I think if you just look at the landscape of college football, teams are tired of seeing Georgia, or fans are tired of seeing Georgia win. So the Tennessee-Georgia game, everybody's pulling for Tennessee. Yeah. You look at the SEC East, there's not many Florida fans outside of Gainesville. Like, I know they're a huge brand. I'm not knocking that at all. But the majority of the country will pull for Tennessee over Florida. And I guess there's an argument there because Florida is probably going to be a lot worse than Tennessee, so they may pull for the underdog. But whatever. You understand my point. Add that to what's going on with the NCAA. Like, people are pulling for Tennessee next year, especially if Tennessee finds their way to Atlanta. And there's not even going to be divisions next year. But if Tennessee finds their way to Atlanta, and it's against a Texas or an Alabama or in Oklahoma, which we don't think it's going to be that, but one of these teams that is kind of perennially around, they're pulling for Tennessee. Like that's kind of the biggest thing that I'm getting at here is I think they're that team that hasn't been able to get to that level, but is fighting back against the NCAA and doing the job everybody wants to see done. I don't know. And
I know we're not talking about their schedule today, but they do have, from the looks of it, a pretty favorable schedule.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It'd be crazy to see them in Atlanta next year, but wouldn't put it past it.
Yeah. Y'all got anything else today? Nothing on Mikey's end?
Nope, we're in the dog.
Oh, how about
we're in the dog days.
We're not in the dog days, bro. Everything's happening still. But I will I will say, just by looking at your shirt, what's your solution for the postseason for college football?
Okay, so I know what you're going at because we talked about it before, and you like how soccer EPL is set up so that it's like the Big Four and relegating teams and stuff like that, which would make college football so fun. But it would also be like the most un-American thing we could do is go to true football and marvel our sport around them.
Not true football.
Dude, we don't need to fight like 6 continents, okay? Like let's know what we're talking about. But
Americans love competition, though.
That is true. But the landscape of what? Like ask a question again, that threw me off.
Wait, what?
So what was your question? Like even
what's your solution?
Essentially based around?
Yeah, what's your solution?
To
the playoff.
To the playoff itself?
Yeah.
We're on the same page. The BCS was the greatest thing ever. But if I don't want to go to 12. I don't want to go to 16. I think 4 is perfect. Because we talked about it in depth a couple months ago. As soon as we get to 12, it's just more games, more money for networks, and it's taken away from football and who are the best teams in the country, and we're letting a couple cupcake teams get in there because they think that they deserve it and that they're not, and maybe there's upsets. But my solution is the BCS. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There was mayhem every year about who gets in, like leaving out 3 and 4, and then the playoffs solved that for a few years, and now we're to where we are today. And I think it'll just grow. Like I think it'll get bigger before it goes back to being smaller.
Yeah. My thing with the playoff is not that I hate a 12-team playoff or a 16-team playoff or anything like that. I don't necessarily hate that. I hate the format in giving 6 auto bids to the highest ranked conference champions. That's obnoxious because you inevitably get teams in that don't deserve to be there. I'm all about the best team winning. So if that's in a 12-team format, fine. Put the 12 best teams in. And that's kind of my argument with the 4-team playoff this year was put the 4 best teams in. And you saw how angry people got this year, but next year it'll just be the team that's actually ranked 11 and 12 who didn't get in because you had to put in 18 and an unranked because they won their conference. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're still going to have those same issues, but I'm in favor of just putting the best 12 in. Now, I think the only way you can truly do that and have a playoff where you're getting the best teams is in, it's in a setup like the English Premier League where there's 134 FBS teams in college football. Divide that, whatever it comes out to, 30 and some change. Huh? 32. There you go. Divide that to whatever it comes out to. You have 32 teams in each section. Let the top 8 do a playoff. You'll never see that because that would involve conferences disbanding and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's never going to happen. But to me, that would be the perfect way to do it. So I'm just offering solutions that will never happen. But that's...
Yeah, and we talked about it too. Like, with the 12-team playoff, the third or fourth best SEC team that's played a crazy strength of schedule, or Big Ten team that's played a crazy strength of schedule that has some nail-biting losses, won't get in, but the ACC champion and the Big 12 champion will. And there's a 50-50 shot that the fourth best Big Ten SEC team could mop the floor with the ACC champion or Big 12 champion. But we won't. That won't even be part of the conversation because they have 3 losses to Michigan, Georgia, and Bama. Or like that wouldn't be the 3, but those are that'll be 3 of your top 10 next year guaranteed. So it's tough, and there's going to be more repercussions than benefits in the first year, and maybe they can fix it in the second year. But it is what it is.
So, how about this? You had Oklahoma going 6-6, or 7-5, or whatever you want to call it. They have the 17th best odds to win the national championship.
That's nuts,
isn't it? And so looking at their schedule,
yeah.
you have them going 6-6, but teams from the ACC, Big 12, or G5 that are ahead of them. Let's go through this. USC. Well, no, USC is in the Big 10 now. So ahead of them is USC, Tennessee, Missouri, A&M. Clemson has better odds than them. Would you take Oklahoma over Clemson or no? I would personally, but Clemson doesn't play nearly as hard of a schedule. That's probably why they have better odds. I would personally take Oklahoma.
Yeah, fair.
Penn State, Notre Dame's an independent. Probably take Notre Dame in that one, but I think it'd be a close game.
Same.
You have Florida State. Again, I think that's a super close game.
Yeah, I think that's a phenomenal game.
Ahead of them still Ole Miss, Michigan, LSU, Oregon, Bama, Texas, Ohio State, Georgia. So there is literally 3 teams with better odds than them that are not in the SEC or the Big Ten. And they have the 17th best odds. So if we're talking like you have Oklahoma going potentially 6-6 or 7-5, but their only losses coming to SEC teams. So where would they match up? Like Clemson and Florida State. So Clemson's projected to be the 2 in the ACC. So you're saying Oklahoma could potentially be the 1 or the 2 in the ACC and be 6-6 in the SEC. And
that's.
And your rating.
That's not a crazy sentence either.
Yeah. And the Big 12 team with the highest odds to win the national championship is Kansas State, and they have the 19th best odds, 2 worse than Oklahoma. And Utah's right after them. Utah's right after them with the 20th best odds.
Yeah. So whoever gets in from the Big 12, good luck. Good freaking luck in the playoff, big dog. Yeah, they'll probably sit. That's absurd. That we're adding 12. It's going to be a 12-team playoff, and there will be 1 team from the Big 12.
Yeah, dude. And there's
because they have to.
And there's
it's not because they deserve it.
well, how about this? We're going to a 12-team playoff. They have to put in the 6 highest-rated conference champions, and there's 18 teams with better odds to win the national championship than the first Big 12 team.
If you want to look at a flawed system, you just said it.
Yeah.
But do you know what the thing is? I guarantee you, they pin them. Well, they won't pin them with another G5, but that would be the only way that I think that they would have a win in the playoff. Like the Big 12 team, I think the only way they get it is if they somehow get matched up against like a Conference USA champion or some shit like that. Like if they get thrown up against Oklahoma, that goes 9-3. Oklahoma's going to mop the floor.
Yeah. So you have to go all the way down to the 45th best odds to find Liberty. That's going to be your, or at least projected to be in the playoff. 45th best odds in a 12-team playoff. So, again, my issue is not that there's 12 teams in a playoff. It's the format in which you are putting these 12 teams in. Liberty has the 45th best odds in the country to go win the national championship, and that they got a great shot to be in the playoff. So that's terrible.
Tell you what, they make the playoff. That's America's team right there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Whatever G5 teams make it. There's also Boise State's up there somewhere. Washington's in the Big Ten, so that's not even a conversation worth having. Oregon State and Washington State are nowhere to be found on here. All right. Yeah, man. So we got a broken system. I'll drink to that. Y'all got anything else?
Nope.
The team you support has other sports other than football. When you go to their games, go to SeatGeek. Use code 10SecondRunoff. That is 10 SECOND RUNOFF. Thank you for your moral support, Dan, Mikey. I love it every show. We will see you all Wednesday.